Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and this is a chassis that a lot of you have been asking for on the channel and on other videos recently. Luckily plans are already afoot to get one from Silverstone, but it's only just recently arrived, and it's the Silverstone Fortress 3 or the FT03, however you want to call it. Now this has got a really wacky design, and I don't mean wacky in a bad way, I mean it's just something that is pretty much never been done before. They've tried to take the inverted kind of layout, so with the motherboard, with the back panel sat at the top, and then like the fans blowing upwards. They've also tried to get it into this really kind of small footprint chassis, so it's got really small base, and then they're still trying to wang everything in. But basically, the best thing I can do is get you in to have a look, and then I'll try to give you the best look as I can possible without bits in it. Then we'll stick some components in so you can then get another, a better idea of what it looks like with hardware in there. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. But I guess it's time really for me to hush my mouth and to bring you in for a look. Right then guys, we'll start at the top and we will work our way down and around because there's a fair amount to cover. At the top you can see you've got this like a meshed panel really. This is the top of the case, but it would be what is normally the back of the case. But this top panel comes off. But just to show you quickly before I do take it off, just for later on, this is the area that your cables would go in and out of for the rear I/O, for like your hard drive cables and your USB cables, your audio cables, stuff like that. They all go in here. You can take this panel off, obviously, to get access in there. You can see these are the USB 3 cables. Obviously these go into the back panel or into your PCI card, whichever method that you're using. We spin it round. You can see on the front. You can see on the front that you've got a power and reset button, 2 USB 3 onlys, and then your headphone and your microphone slot there. And you've also got a hard drive activity light and your normal power light. If I spin the case round again, basically, as you can see, you've only got 4 PCI brackets here, so that means that it's a M-ATX case only, so micro ATX only. You could fit an ITX in there should you wish, but obviously a normal ATX or anything like that, it's not going to go in, is it? 120mm exhaust. Got a few cutouts around to aid extra airflow to come up through. There's cutouts along this section here. I'll try and do it so that you can see. There you go. And then more cutouts at the side. And there's a hard drive dock at the side there, which I'm going to take you round to the side now. Take the side panel off, and basically with the side panel you have to lift. You lift it up, and then it just pulls off. So it's nice and simple. I'm actually going to move the camera back slightly now so I can talk you through this. So stay with me. There we go. You can see now. There we go. Right. Essentially, you've got the hard drive dock here. I'm just going to spin the camera thing around so you can see what I'm looking at. Right. We've got the hard drive dock here, and when you release it, it actually pulls the hard drive away as well. So when you push it in, it will push the hard drive in and locate it into place. So you pretty much just slide the hard drive in. You've got a Molex cable here to power the SATA, and then you've also got a SATA cable which you can plug into your motherboard. So, and then you've got 2 other 3.5-inch hard drive mounting points, which if I grab my dummy drive, which is normally to hand but I can't find it, there it is. I do apologise, dudes and dudettes, but that's where you'd mount your hard drive. It also comes in the case, it comes with one adapter for a 2.5 inch drive, so you can still mount solid state drives in here should you wish. Something you will want to notice though, just down here, this is the power in point, which you need to put the power in from below the case. So basically on the back panel of the case we've got access for three 3.5 inch hard drives. One of them can be adapted to a 2.5 inch SSD with the included bracket. One of them's also hot swap, which you can fit and remove just by taking the top of the case off. Now I'm going to spin the axis around again. Now this front panel does come off. In fact, I'm going to. Oh, you should be able to see. Okay. There's a slot. Oh, new phone ring. There's a slot here. This is for a slot loading DVD or Blu-ray, and the front panel does pull off to expose inside the case. You can see here is the point where the slot loading drive would go. Pretty much like a laptop drive, really. But I am going to need to move the camera this time because I want to give you a better view of this part. I'll do this with you all on the camera. Right then. So I'm going to. We have a large kind of mesh panel here, but it's dust filtered. It's only plastic. I need to spin the camera around so I can see. But it's a plastic panel, but it has got dust filter on it, which sits up inside. There we go. Clipping it all into place. Obviously this is the first time I've used this, but you can take this side panel off as you do with the other one, lift up, pull out. And this is the first look that you're going to get of the inside the case. Now, basically, what I'll do actually is I'm going to pop you off the camera. I'll do it with you in my hands, it'll be easier for you to see that way. You can see the motherboard goes in the top section here, and then your graphics cards will come down this part. We'll test all the graphics card sizes and stuff at a later date, or at a later date, later in the video I should say. You have a fan there which is to blow air up onto your graphics cards. Basically draws air from underneath the fan and from round the back kind of section to blow air up onto your graphics cards. Your power supply goes in here with the cables going out the back, and this is the power cable, so it can connect up, and obviously this cable then goes off to the other connection that I showed you previously. And then you've also got this fan here which is pulling air in from the side cutout that I told you about, and then that's then blowing it straight up onto what would be your CPU fan. So it's a very little case, or it's a very small footprint case, but there's a lot going on inside. It's a very funky design. I'm also going to just tip it over quickly while I've got you hold of you in my hand. Just take another big gouge out of my worktop, but never mind. And basically what I wanted to show you is the dust filter in the bottom. So where the fans are drawing in, you've still got dust filters. So the fan that I told you about before has got lots of ways to be able to draw air in from the outside. One of them is through the bottom, but this dust filter is magnetic and pretty much clips on like that. It's very easy to remove and clean where it is just magnetic. You can see the large cutout there for your power supply fan, and then as I said before, the cutout there for that fan, and then up in that section is where the your power cable would go. So that's a first look of the chassis before it's built. Where this one is quite complicated, I did want to give you a look round it first. Now I'm going to build a system in there, and I'll be able to show you it again. It is also worth noting that you can put a 60mm fan in here should you wish, 60 or an 80mm fan, to also blow air on your graphics cards, which can pull the air from the top. So there's lots of kind of all round the daisies airflow, but we'll see how well it works in a second. Right then people, we've got all the parts in there now. I've left the sides off just so I can walk you around this and show you everything. Basically, to get the motherboard in, or at least with me at least, I had to take this fan out. But it's just 2 screws there, and then 2 here, and then the motherboard will go and find. I'm pretty much sure that every motherboard you try and fit in here, this is going to have to come out. So that's something that you're going to need to think of. Also, to get the graphics card in, you're probably going to need to remove this fan bracket, and then also, once you've removed the fan bracket, there's also this bracket here, which you just unscrew to get access to the PCI plates, and you're going to have to remove that as well. Now the graphics card that's in there, just to show you, I would honestly say that's probably about as tight and as big as you really want to go in here. That is a 6950 2GB. There's only one pin in there because I'm actually going to do the test with a 6850. But yeah, basically I just wanted to put that in there to show you size. Now the 6950, the reason why I've used that is because it's the same size as the 6970. So technically you could get one 6970 in there, but because of the angle on this fan, if you look, it comes up, you're not going to be able to get a second one in there. So please bear that in mind. If you want to put 2 cards in, you're going to be limited to something like 2 6870s or 2 GTX 560s, something like that. Obviously you can get MATX boards that support crossfire and stuff like that, but you are going to have to seriously consider your airflow if you want to cram that many cards into a small case like this. Also, if I spin round, you can see with that fan you're not going to have any problems with big RAM. Even the larger Kingston RAM that's massive, you should still be able to fit in here fine. But if you have a look, there's not a lot of room. Now that's a small Cooler Master. I can't remember the name of it. It's not the Hyper, it's the next one down. It's like 10 or 15 pounds. Now that's a 92mm fan on there, and you can see how tight that is. One thing I would say is obviously all motherboard orientations are different, and if you did have problems you'd probably be able to get away with moving the fan to the other side, but please do beware that you may run into problems with this fan and very, very large CPU coolers. So it'll be worth, you know, I know most people want to get all their bits all at once, but it's going to be worth playing, you know, on the air of caution. People are always forever asking me questions about, will this fit, will that fit? Now with this, because it's all very, you know, it is very close, and obviously your motherboard can be a few mil either way, I'm really not going to be able to tell you guys. So it's going to be one of those things where you're literally going to have to get your motherboard in the case and then have a look at what options you've got for the best air heatsink. Even some of the face down coolers I would imagine you'd get issues with on this. So yeah, please just bear that in mind. My cooler's, it's not bent, but it's definitely leaning down a fair bit, or it looks that way in this case anyway. But like I said, just go, you know, careful with it. Don't go getting that something that's absolutely massive. If you've got the option of test fitting, or you know, borrowing one of your mates or something like that, or even using your old cooler and then, you know, basically using that as a guide for yourself for a new purchase or whatever, then please do that. You can see the power supply in the bottom and the cable now routed. I do like that Mushkin logo on these power supplies. I wish they carried on doing these. Mushkin Redline RAM as well. Anyway, round to the back. I've cable tidied, but I've not done it I've intentionally not gone super TTL anal with the cables, because I just wanted to show you what an average system's going to look like. And you can see it all crammed in there. And I also wanted to show you the hard drive dock, which, just because I want to get it now, right, there we go, hard drive dock, and then when it gets to the top you give it a little bit of a tug, and there you go. A little bit sticky, but obviously this is the first time it's been used, but you can see it's pulled it right away, and now in and then push down, and that's it, your hard drive's right in place. It is a little bit sticky, but it does go in there fine. And I did make a mistake before. The 3.5 inch bays cannot be adapted to 2.5 inch with the adapter that comes with the case. There's actually some mounts here nestled in behind. That is the bracket for the 2.5 inch mount that comes with the case. But obviously you could get 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch adapters that you could fit in here. So yeah, it's just one to kind of keep in mind. That's the place where you mount the 2.5 inch adapter that comes with the case, but you could still adapt these with the, I mean, a lot of the solid state drives actually come with 3.5 inch adapter brackets anyway. So yeah, slight error on my part before, but what I'm going to do now is get the case all put back together again. Give you an idea of how much noise it makes with all of the fans on 12 volts, because I've got them all dangling off of a Molex. And yeah, basically, and then we'll get it all wrapped up. Right then guys, let's get this finished up. The Silverstone Fortress FT03. Basically, very small footprint, but with a little bit more height than you'd generally kind of think. You know, for something this small, you're kind of used to them being like ITX cases, and it's almost like a couple of ITX cases stacked on top of each other. That's a good thing, because you've got the MATX format in there, and there are an immense amount of MATX boards out there. You can get P67 ones, H67 ones, you can even get X58 base ones. There's a load of AMD ones as well. So you've got plenty of options there. Now, with that, one of the things, if you're going to start going up the ranks with the boards and the chips, you may come into overclocking. With the angled fan, as I tried to explain earlier, just go careful with your cooler choice. Now, that's not something I'm going to be able to advise, because every motherboard has a slightly different spacing, and the differences you know, in the orientation are going to be very different as well. But height wise, which is about the only thing that I can advise you on, because you have the 120mm fan in the back, you know that you'll definitely be able to get 120mm cooler in there. Some of the 140mm coolers that don't come in contact with your RAM, so they don't sit too far over, you should be able to get in there as well. Again, it's going to be the best thing I can say, and it's not in an ideal world, but any stretch of the imagination, would be to get your motherboard and get that in there, and then good old fashioned get your eyes in there and see how much room that you've got. Maybe even start measuring with your ruler to see how far you can get in there, because a cooler with this case is going to be something that you're going to need to definitely take your time with. If you've got other coolers to kind of like guesstimate on the sizes and stuff, that may really help you be able to, you know, make your choices. With some of them, you may just be able to get away with just moving the fan, rather than pushing at the heatsink, move it round to the other side so it's sucking. So it's pulling the air through and pushing out towards the top. You may just be able to get away with that, but it's all very specific. And sadly, it's pretty much something that if you start sending me questions on YouTube, I'm really not going to want to say it either way, because I don't want to tell you to get something and then it be wrong, because it's very little tolerances in this. So it's going to be one of those ones that I'm going to shy away from unless I'm 110% sure. Now, with the power supply routing and stuff, we're seeing that with a lot with Silverstone lately, that they're mounting the power supplies quite, you know, funkily and routing the cables so that you put the cable in the bottom. I really didn't get a problem with this at all. One thing I will say with this case though is any power supplies over 160mm length, which is a standard ATX size. Just to give you an idea, this is 160mm PSU, and just for a, you know what I mean, so you've got an idea, the AX 750 and 850, some Corsair, are also 160mm power supplies. I wouldn't go any bigger than that, because if you go any larger, you're not going to be able to get the cables out the back. So that's another fact that you're going to have to go very, very careful with if you're going to buy this. Stick to 160 power supplies length as an absolute maximum. Graphics cards, up to, I would say, I definitely wouldn't go bigger than a 6970 for a single card. But if you're going to go with a dual card layout, which a fair amount of people do with MATX rigs, I would honestly go for an absolute maximum of a 6870 in there, or something like a 560, because the bottom fan is on an angle. Basically the first card sits down inside that angle bit, so if you try and stick another one in, there's just not going to be room, so you'll have to pick shorter cards. So you can get a 6970 in there, which pretty much means you can get a 570 in there as well, and I would personally go along the lines of the NVIDIA route with the cards at the moment. Just as a personal preference, I prefer my rigs to be quiet. And flowing on from quiet, we did the tests with all the fans on 12 volts. It wasn't astronomically loud, but you need to remember there's still going to be a good amount of 120mm fans in there, all running on max. And one of the things I would say is not necessarily a fan controller, but you can get the little resistor cables now. I would play about with different resistor cables, like what come with the Noctuas, and just get your balance between noise and performance. I would honestly, personally, err on the go for quiet more than anything else. But that's just me, my own personal opinion, and I do prefer a quiet rig. As far as like cooling performance is concerned, definitely worked a lot better than I was expecting. It's still not got like free flowing air in there, and obviously the fans are having to work a little bit harder. And something that I did notice is, because the fans are working that little bit harder, they probably are slightly more noisy, but that's only because I'm used to listening to the difference between, you know what I mean, a fan that's free flowing and a fan where you can hear the air moving around. I do like the bottom fan bracket, which I just was, because I want to show you, I can't get it on, but the fan filter in the bottom that's magnetic, I do really like that, and I do like the fact that you can get all three sides off the case as well, so you can get in there. Something else that you're really going to have to bear in mind as well is that you can only put a slot loading DVD drive in, and that's generally, if you're with a PC case, it's not something most of us have. Most of us have the big opticals, but I'd have to say I'm not really that worried about this anyway. I would have almost preferred that they didn't put that in there at all and just had a lovely clean looking front, because I'm not really a fan of internal opticals, but I suppose a slot loading is a lot better looking than a big hunk of black horrible plastic on the front of most other cases. So my thoughts on the FT03. Now, it is very quirky. There isn't really anything like it at all. Obviously we are going with the very popular Silverstone layout at the moment, which is bring the air in the bottom and chuck it out the top. I do quite like that. I can't really pick like massive faults with it. A lot of people aren't going to like the fact that there's only a few hard drive connectors, hard drive slots, but not being funny, if you run an MATX case and stuff like that, you're not going to have gazillions of hard drives. So there's pluses and minuses on many of the factors. Thinking about it, I mean, I'd love to give it a kind of like a unique award, because there isn't anything really like it, and it's not like you can compare it with a normal ATX case. So what I'm going to do, because obviously it's not perfect in the fact that you can't fit everything in there, but you can get round it and build your system around it. and I would go with, to be perfectly honest, I would give this a silver award. And that's not, a lot of people think, oh, why didn't I get gold? But gold literally has to be pretty much almost perfect. And there's not very many cases out there really that I'm happy to give a gold to, and that they serve their purpose perfectly. But I think this is a generous silver. I do like the case, I love the layout, I can see a lot of people getting a good use out of this. It wouldn't necessarily sit out of place in like a funky bedroom, for argument's sake, or a funky office, a minimal office. Maybe not even in the front room, because you could sit this by the side of your telly and it really wouldn't cause too much of a problem, because it's, do you know what I mean, it's got that kind of black chicness to it. You can also get a silver external version with white internals. Wish they'd sent me that, so I really would have liked to have had a good look at that. But yes, silver award, and I am quite the fan as well. Like I said, it's something very different, but something I did forget to mention previously, so I'll mention now, is this side panel. Obviously you're bringing air in, but something that is very handy about it is the fact that you can turn the power supply on and off from it as well, so you don't necessarily have to take the whole side panel off. Now that was another kind of thing that it wasn't until I started using it I could appreciate it that bit more. But obviously there has been an immense amount of design and thought gone into this. You can still remove all the bits, so you can get all your parts in there. It's a very, very good case, and a very worthy silver award winner as well. I'm actually looking forward to doing some more Silverstone stuff over the coming weeks. Or it's maybe a little bit longer than that, but there are a few things with them I'm chasing after them, like a little Jack Russell napping at their heels. But anyway, well done Silverstone, you got yourself a silver OC3D award, and that's a big deal with someone like me lately. Anyway, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you, out.